Hello, everybody. It's Tamara Ard here. I'm one of the owners at My Amazing Maid in Columbus, Georgia. And I'm really happy to be here at the Maid Summit in 2021. I will say thanks to the ZenMaid folks. They have done a fantastic job at organizing this conference and just hit it out of the ballpark one more time. They just do great work. I have been a little ill, so while I usually would have my face on this presentation today, I have chosen to just let you see me and a couple of my friends, Nita and Charlie. I think you'll be a lot happier with this situation. So today's topic is the customer experience. And the idea that it's more than just customer service. I mean, we talk about customer service in the cleaning industry all the time. And so I want to give us some context for that. And, it could be a jumping off point for discussion, but I also am going to tell you a little bit about how we do it at My Amazing Maid. So today we're going to talk about the difference between customer service and the customer experience. There is a difference, and how you deal with each customer service issue relates to the way customer experiences your company. Secondly, I'm going to talk about how your philosophy and culture affects the customer experience, what you're communicating, how setting expectations for your customer improves your customer experience. It can make a big difference because it has for me. And then finally, are you in control of the customer experience? Because you want to be in control of that experience. You want them to have a great experience so they will always return to your business. So let's dig right in. The difference between customer service and the customer experience. There's a couple of things. One is customer service is often one event. Somebody called, they wanted to change their appointment, and you told them, yes, they'd be happy to take care of that. And we'll get back to them, and then we don't, or we do. That event creates a feeling in your customer. Generally, it's about one individual's interaction. In our company, it's typically our office manager, customer service person, and she is managing most of the customer interactions, problems, requests, all that stuff that, those pesky customers keep bothering us with. So it has to do with the interaction of the customer, and it's usually reactionary. Somebody's calling in and they need something. So for us, again, typically it's that front office person. It can be the cleaners, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time, if they have a problem or a request, they're going to call the office. The customer experience is the sum total of all those interactions. So, they've called once. We said we were going to call them back. We don't call them back. They said they wanted the oven cleaned. We said, sure. We don't write it down in the notes. The cleaners don't do it. It's all those things added up as to how they feel and perceive the company. So it's more of, how you want them to feel about you is more of a proactive idea. And it's the responsibility of everyone in the company. Everyone who interacts with the customer is responsible for the customer experience. The cleaners who say good morning, who, enter the house in a professional way, who speak to the clients, who pet the dog and give the dog a treat, let the dog out to go potty or whatever. It is a full experience of all the things that are going on with your company for the customer. So the customer service and customer experiences are dictated by fundamentally two different things. The first thing I would suggest is the philosophy and the culture that you have in your organization shape the customer experience. They also dictate how you're going to do customer services, but it's going to shape the customer experience. Secondly, the expectations that you set with your clients are going to shape the customer experience. Because if they think you're going to do something that you're not going to do and you don't do it and they expect you to, it's going to affect how they feel about the situation, what they thought they got. So let's talk a little bit about culture and philosophy. First of all, let's all acknowledge that every organization has an organizational culture and philosophy that basically defines people's behaviors. How are they going to treat the clients? How are they going to react if there's a change? How are we going to deal with a complaint? And how are we going to deal with, if people give us great feedback? So there's all that going on, and that's the culture or the philosophy that you have developed and you do develop in your organization. It's established by the leaders of the organization, the supervisors, the office manager, a field service manager if you have one, the owners of the company. You're all communicating messages to the employees as to how we're going to behave and what we value. It's reinforced so many ways and shapes. You just don't even know the little things that you do, side comments you might make about a client, things and tools that you might give them to do their work. It is constantly being assessed by the employees. Well, what are we supposed to do here? How do we feel about everything? So how do you talk about your clients? Or your client is the best thing that you've ever had to deal with? What do you give bonuses for? In our company, we give bonuses for quality. If you don't have a complaint, you get an extra $1.50 per hour if you're a supervisor for your compensation. And then how you treat your staff, because I've always felt that, your staff are the people who are putting their hands on your clients or your customers. So you've got to make sure that how you're treating the staff, you understand that has a huge impact. So what are you communicating? Some of the philosophies and cultures that I've seen and probably may have at times felt, particularly when I first opened 8 years ago, is your staff know how you feel about your clients. And that's how they're going to treat the client. If they think the client's difficult or whatever, cleaning customers are a pain in the patoot or whatever you want to fill that blank in with. They're difficult. They always trying to get something for free. That's the thing that I see often. Oh, well, they're paying us, but they're going to want us to come back. They're always going to make us come back. The customer's expectations are too high. They just want something for free. They want their house is really clean already. And so their expectations of what we're going to do are so high that, it's just unrealistic. And fun. And then the other philosophy or belief system is that customers are just complainers. If they complain, if they don't, then they're good clients. If they complain, then they're difficult clients. So, those communicate that type of feeling you have about your clients communicate something to your employees. So a customer-focused philosophy and culture would be things like our customers and our staff are our biggest assets. And that is true. Obviously, if you don't have customers, you can't have staff. Customers pay all the bills. All we get in our business, our little business, is the only money we make is if we clean. So we are dependent on our customers and our time spent in their homes to make the money that we make, to pay our staff, to pay overhead, to pay ourselves, whatever. So our customers are critical, and the staff to complete the service is very critical. When a customer complains, is the customer always right? Now, I have a saying that I add to that is even if they're wrong, because what I talk to our employees about is they didn't get something that they thought they should get. Or you may have missed something. Everybody has a bad day. Maybe you didn't do that. And I'll tell you that most of the time, this has happened with the other business I had, which was the handyman services. I'd be like, there's no way we did that. And then I go out there and look, and sure enough, we would have missed the dusting on the dresser behind the runner, that was 4 or 5 inches, there, that was just wood, and we didn't dust it. And the cleaner is saying, oh, no, that's not right. So if you talk to the cleaners about, the customers are right, something in the experience didn't work for them. Now, are there exceptions to this? Yes. Have I ever fired a customer? Yes. But that's very rare. And I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but yes, it has happened. But most of the time, you can pinpoint one of the problems to something different that's going on with the client. Customers' expectations are not too high. The real question is, why didn't we meet them? So did we not communicate effectively with them? That's a really critical piece to this whole part of the customer service and the customer-focused experience is, why aren't we meeting that expectation that they have? And when a customer complains, we need to determine what happened. And we need to fix the problem as soon as possible. We try to go back out within 24 hours. A client who calls up and says, oh, they want money back, we say, no, we do guarantee our work, but that means that we'll come back and redo anything that you're concerned about. And we'll come back, today. But so the question then becomes, what did we do? Does our staff need more training? Did we not communicate effectively to the customer what we're going to do? There's a lot of things that are built in and in the fabric of that conversation. So let's talk a little bit about expectation settings, which honestly is so critical. I tell my staff that expectations, is the name of this, is the game in this business. Making sure that your customers know what they're getting and making sure that your staff know what they're doing. Making sure those expectations are completely clear. We sell 3 different packages. If my staff don't understand what the difference between a classic cleaning and an economy cleaning is, then, they may or may not do the right thing. And if we do our ultimate premier cleaning for people and they don't get what they're supposed to get because we do a classic, that's a problem, because we've said, here's the experience you're going to get with us, and we're not pulling through. So it's really, really important to make sure that what you told them you're going to do is what you do. So what we do is that after a person gets an estimate, either they can go online and get their estimates, or that they call in and we do an estimate. Within about 30 minutes, they get a list of all the things we're going to do based on the selection that they made of the type of package. And it has everything in there. So that they can go through and look at it. Now, what you find sometimes is the people will call up and they'll say, oh, I thought you were going to hand wash all the woodwork or the baseboards. And we'll say, well, let's look at that list I sent you. It's not in there, but we're always happy to do that for you. Let me figure out how much of what the price would be for you to do that. So we're always saying, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that you wanted it. That wasn't included, but we would love to help you with that. And then you can add the price. Because if you don't tell them what you're going to do and they don't see it written down, you can definitely run into the problem, because they'll say, well, you said you were doing the baseboards. They will. They're going to say, well, you told me you were going to do the baseboards and you didn't. So, that whole written piece is really critical. Did we tell them that we would be there at 9:00, but we don't show up until 10:30? If they're working, sometimes that's not a big deal. But on the other hand, maybe it is, because they have a ring alarm. They're expecting us to show up at a certain time. Sometimes they have to, turn the alarm off for us. We text them and say we're on the way, and they'll turn the alarm off. And maybe they're in a meeting at 10:30, but they weren't at 9. I mean, there's just so many different pieces to this. So we do an on-the-way text, probably 20 minutes before the cleaners are going to get there. If the cleaner realizes they're not going to be there by the time, like the 9:00, a better example is 11, because if we start getting behind, it's not the first job, it's the second job. So say we start getting behind and the cleaner doesn't let the person know that, oh, we're not going to be there at 11, we're going to be there at 1. Well, then we're going to get a phone call. They're going to call us up and say, I thought your people were going to be here. And if we haven't told them what was going on, then that's a problem. But I tell you, when we make that call at, say, 10:00, 10:30, saying, we're into a cleaning this morning. It's going to take more time than we expected. We will be at your home. It looks like we'll be there closer to 11:30 or noon. Is that a problem for you? And then maybe they say, no, but I'm going to have to hide a key. It gives them the option of, being involved in what's going to happen with that. So that's really important. If you have a common complaint or problem after cleaning, then you need to explain them. Our best example is that we had a constant complaint and calling us, et cetera, about resettling dust, particularly after a, one-time deep clean or a, move in, move out. And sometimes the first cleaning that we do at a client's home, they'll say, there's just so much, they didn't dust here. And I almost always could say, well, I'm sure they did, but if there was a lot of dust there, then it resettles. And, you go through and you explain that. And you do that every time. You do that so many times a week that it's just like, oh my goodness, why are these people, why am I explaining this over and over and over? So what we've done is that every evening, and some of our software does this for us, we have after we clean somebody, then first time or a one time or whatever, there's a email that goes out and says, hey, thank you for letting us clean your home. We hope that everything meets your expectations, and just wanted to let you know that if there was a lot of dust in your home, there could be resettling dust, because dust, when you're wiping it up, it goes up in the atmosphere or in the air, air, and then it can resettle. We just want you to know that this is common. If it's really a big problem, please call our office and let us know. We'll come back. If you're a recurring client, the next time we come and clean, you won't be seeing that, because it may take us twice to clean before the dust, is completely gone. I don't get those calls anymore. I mean, I just stopped them. And it was an incredible experience because we realized, look, here's something you can do, because again, you're setting those expectations for the customer. Sorry. I was in a different line of work at one time, and all of my people were clients, and now they're customers. And I did that for a long time, so I have a little bit of struggle with that. Okay, the next one is, did they understand the price and how it is calculated? We do flat rates. We used to do by the hour. I spent a lot of time trying to explain to people, well, we do it by the hour. We're sending 3 people. That means it's, whatever the hourly rate is times 3. We charge in 15-minute increments after the first hour. And that would be 45 minutes because you have 3 people. I mean, it was just like, people didn't understand man hours versus time on the clock, and it was just a lot of work, a lot of explaining. And then they would call up and say, you'd say, well, your bill is this. And they would say, well, they were only at my house for 2 hours. And I'd say, yes, but there were 3 of them. That's 6 hours on the, man hours. And so, it just never stopped. We decided to go ahead and go to flat rates. And, it works pretty well. We do tell them that if it's going to go over the price that we have set, that we will call them and let them know and talk to them about options. And so that has worked pretty well. I mean, sometimes we're under. And what happened previously is that when we were below the time, we wouldn't charge them. If we said, oh, it's going to take us 3 hours and it only took us 2, we charged them 2 hours. And now we give them a flat price. We do it in 2 hours, and, it's still getting that money. So we saw an improved revenue with that. The trick is you have to train your staff, because you never, ever, ever, ever want to spend the customer's money without talking to them. Don't do it. I mean, it's just going to make them mad. You say, oh, well, we're going to charge you $300 for this deep clean. And then your cleaners are cleaning and cleaning. Oh, they say this house, it looked okay when we got here, but honestly, it's terrible. Baseboards are taking us longer, and, it just took us longer. And I'm like, okay, but we needed to talk to the client at some point in time. And what we try to do is tell our cleaners that within half, when you're halfway done, you're going to know if you're going to get done the rest of the way. And you have to call the office, talk to us. We're going to talk to the customer, and we're going to say, your house needed a little bit more love or a little bit more attention. Our prices are based on houses of average size, average condition, which usually means that they've been maintained. And we love to help people who need the help in their home to get it in shape. We just love to do that because that's what we enjoy. But it is going to take longer to get your house in order. And we will tell them it's going to take another it's going to cost another $120 to do the rest of the work that we need to do. And then I say, now, if you're on a budget and you can't do that, can we prioritize what you would like for us to do? And sometimes, and I always recommend, I say, typically people, when they start prioritizing, they're going to say bathrooms, kitchens, and floors. They're going to let go of the dusting almost all the time. The bathrooms and the kitchen is typically the worst areas to clean, and they want the floors done. So, that's my recommendation to people. But then they may say, no, I'm having company. I just want you to do the first floor. Don't do the second floor. And that's a problem, because typically if we've been working an hour and a half, we will have started on the second floor. So you have to know kind of, what you're going to say and how you're going to set that stage for your people. But don't go over and say, oh, well, by the way, hey, it costs more for you just to clean. I always tell the customer, here's the possibilities. If we get in there, it's going to take longer. We're going to talk to you. We're not going to spend your money without talking to you. And honestly, if we get into that job and we don't talk to them, we don't charge them. That's on us. And that takes a lot of training of your staff, but you have to do it. You have to make sure that they understand the financial implications of those kind of decisions. But we don't spend a client's money without talking to them. And if we go over and we don't talk to them, then we just charge them what we told them we were going to charge them. Sometimes the cleaners will call me up and say, well, it's only going to take us an extra 15 to 30 minutes to do this. I know there's 3 of us. And I said, just do it. Just get it done. Don't, it's not worth the agony of perhaps talking to somebody about a little bit more money on that one. Just do it. We just make a decision, but it's a conscious decision on the part of me and the cleaners that this is what we're going to do. It's not just something that is pulled out of thin air. So the last thing I will talk to you about is, are you in control of the customer experience? I know we would love to all be completely in control of the customer experience. And honestly, I know that if I was doing the work or you were doing the work, then everything would be great, I'm sure. It wasn't when I first started. My goodness, I didn't know half of what I know now, or even less than that, maybe a fraction of what I know now. And the customer experience was not good. I mean, we were fumbling around. We weren't setting expectations. We weren't good about, explaining things. And so, you do the best you can, and the customer perceives your service as ultimately not something you can control. You do everything you can to try to shape that experience into a positive one by the way you and your staff engage with the customer. And that's all based on the organizational culture and belief systems that you have and the expectation setting. So you're responsible for setting all those things in motion, but you can't make a person who's difficult be not difficult. You just can't. I've had people call me up, and I remember one recently, and he called me up and he said, y'all came and cleaned my house, and they're always at my house for 3 hours. The other day, some people came and they were only there for an hour and a half. And, I just don't think I ought to be charged. And I said, well, tell me, did you find any problems with your cleaning? And he was like, no, but, they just weren't there. I said, well, if you've got a problem with the cleaning, I'd be happy to address that and come back and fix that. But, and actually what happened was somebody called out, and our field service manager was over there cleaning your house, and she cleans very fast. And so sometimes, when you have a person like that in your home, and it was her and a supervisor doing the cleaning, they did knock it out faster than we usually do. But, this job is not by the hour, it's by the cleaning. So if you have a concern or a complaint, please let me know. I will address that. But other than that, sometimes it takes us longer in your home, and we don't charge you for that. We don't call you up and say, gee, I didn't say this actually, but I wouldn't call him up and say, gee, it took us, 30 more minutes to clean your house today. You owe me more money. And so I talked to him and explained this stuff to him, and he was fine when I went through that. He's like, oh, okay, I see what happened. But you've got to be prepared for these questions. You can't, somebody call you up and you'd be like, caught off guard. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Having the answers to those kind of questions are critical. And I will tell you that I didn't have them when I first started. So finally, I just want to wrap this up by saying that my husband, Royce Ard, he's brilliant, and he's actually presenting at this conference as well. And he has a saying that I think is so good that I wanted to close with. And his saying is that every day do whatever you need to make everyone in the organization successful. Everybody who works with you and for you, do everything you can. I mean, that means that somebody's got to be there to greet your staff in the morning. We want to make sure that they know that we're here, that we can support them. If there's questions during the day, we answer the phone, we answer the text. We don't, say, oh, I'm too busy to get to that. Your staff are critical. So whatever we can do to make sure that they're successful, they have the best equipment, they have the best cleaning products, they have new stuff, they don't have stuff that's old and, things that won't work. It's very, very important. And so I think that philosophy and that statement is so powerful that your job is to make everybody successful. Some people you may not be able to, but wouldn't be because you didn't try. And then that's a different conversation with somebody, as that, the job is not a good fit, but you're going to work every day to make everyone successful in your organization. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to seeing you next year.